I'm here this morning to teach you something about etiquette. My son went up to State College and came back home and said, "We got to have etiquette." I said, "What is that?" He said, "It's the future tense of etiquette. Ooh, I like that. So he says, the first thing you got to do is set the table. So in etiquette, the first thing you do is find your screwdriver, because it's very important that you set the table. That's right. You go around while your wife's in there in the kitchen cooking, and you make sure that every screw is set. That's right. Oh, I learned that lesson the hard way. Yes, sir. I remember sitting down at my grandmama's table, and we were all just eating. There was lots of food. And all of a sudden, the top of the table just fell right down into our laps. I guess the table just wasn't set right. But you know what? It didn't hurt us one bit. We just kept right on eating. On that day, we set the table at the end. But it's a whole lot better to set it in the beginning. So use your screwdrivers. You hear? Now, the other thing is, we don't use any plastic. My wife, she's a member of the Women's Society Christian Service. And she says, we don't use plastic. We don't use any kind of thing that's going to mess up the environment. So, toss that plastic away. The only good thing that you can use is genuine golden wheat place settings. You can tell that it's golden wheat right there. And it says made in the USA. No China, made in China, is going to be at my table. Understand? So you sit down the plate. That's right. That's part of etiquette. Now, notice I got a fork. For most meals, you got to have at least a fork. So, put it down in advance, right on the plate. That's fine. That's fine. Now, if you're going to have something like country ham, you got to have a knife. Now, I know it's going to be hard because I just came in from slopping them hogs. And for the life of me, I can't name one of those hogs because I know someday he's going to be right here. But nevertheless, you got to have a sharp knife for breakfast if you're going to have some of that smoked ham. So throw that down on the plate too. Take off your hat. It's all right to have your bare feet, because your feet ain't eating, okay? But you got to make sure that your hat is off, because you don't want to hide your top from your God. I read that somewhere in the Bible. That's right. God likes to see your top. Ain't that in the Psalms? Anyhow, you sit down and you wait and you holler. That's part of etiquette. Bring me a biscuit. Thank you, wife. Now, very important, when you sit down, to keep your arms like this. Because once the blessing is said, everything breaks loose here on the table. So, I've always learned it's a good thing when people are bowing their head. Get your fork ready right here. Because as soon as the amen goes, out as fast as you can and grab a piece of meat. Just like you only use one hand when you do this. Now, when you grab that ham, you're ready. Oh, I messed up my fork. Proper etiquette says you got to make sure you bend your fork back just right. Other. Now, it's very important. Let's just pretend, just for a minute, that you got something like hamburger steak and garden peas. Now, you got you a problem, because those peas, they don't stay too well on your fork. Now, what you can do, according to etiquette, is you take your knife and you scrape them up onto the fork. This is really fancy stuff. I learned this from my son. Yeah. And you put that there and you balance that little pea on the fork. Just like that. Now, what you have to do is don't ever put your knife down and try to eat garden peas just with your fork. Because what you're going to do is you're going to put your nasty finger right there, the one that you've been slopping hogs with, and you're going to break. Yeah, I know this is just the way that we've always done it, but just because we've always done it doesn't mean we have to do it this way every time. So instead of raking up against your finger, your dirty finger, use a knife and rake it up on your fork. Well now, don't you just feel better today knowing that you've learned some of the essentials of etiquette? This is Farmer Bill, and you can trust me, I'm a doctor.